Hello and welcome back to the Backbenchers for season 4, episode 8. My name's Rudy. I'm semi your host today, and we have a special guest star. I think he was so good last week that we've invited Zach back again. Welcome, Zach.
Thanks, I survived the votes. I'm here again.
I feel like you're a bit like, maybe this is a bit too old a reference to you, but you're like a special guest star from Melrose Place, and Heather Lockton, you'll be here every week. You'll just be our
Yeah,
special guest
maybe.
every week. But we've got a lot to unpack here, so we may as well dive straight into it. And I think we start off this episode with Nat just going, "Hey, I grabbed the idol." I don't know how she did that so seamlessly. She just walked behind Dan and Liv and go, "Hey, it's." I was surprised at how easily she did it.
Oh, for sure. I was surprised that, and we hear later in this episode that so many people didn't see her do it with how alert she was. So that's props to her for that. But yeah, she's confirmed to have an idol, all the way through to final 5 now.
Yeah,
She could play that,
and
which is exciting for her.
Yeah, and I was interesting to see that Anthea already knows about it now. So, she was pretty upfront with her. So I think that's the start of the episode. So let's dive straight in. As we see Aston and Mars walking back, they were pretty adamant they got played in that last tribal council.
Yeah.
And Aston thinks he's on the bottom here. And he's already
Mm.
feels like he's scrambling. And he feels like Mushy, Maddie, and Janine are a tight 3. And then Aston does talk about how he didn't grab that idol because he thought it might have been a bit of a target or a threat for him.
Yeah. Do you think that would have been the case?
I feel like a visible idol is always a bit of a target or a threat, but sometimes it's better to have it than not. So I think it's, a catch-22.
Yeah, I mean, he shared that he was confirmed that the votes would flip onto him, but I wasn't sure if that would be the case. Like in that moment, for me as a player, if I'm sitting there, that would probably deter me further from voting Aston, at least in that tribal council. So I wondered if he's thinking really long term, like he's thinking the long game and feeling like he's already been a threat enough to be voted out once. Like, is he going to happen again? But Mars says it kind of later in the episode, but if there's an advantage isn't in your pocket, is that actually something, it's always going to be a negative for you, right? Like, well, I don't know.
Oh, totally. But, and then Aston does talk about, he kind of gives a bit of a slow clap to, the old Gula tribe to how they were able to turn red to turn on each other. And I think they kind of, I think they applauded their efforts there.
Yeah. And Mars is kind of like, his sentiment is like how the mighty has fallen, right? For himself. I find it really interesting, insight-wise, that maybe they didn't recognize that there was some level of threat perception with those 4 tight, members. And that, I wonder if Mars really did feel like he had like Will on side, because that seems to be a prominent relationship for him, or whether he had kind of had Maddie and Janine kind of in the back pocket. So I guess it's this real wake up call for this group. And I must say, if you're watching this, the end of the episode, but how those 3 got through these votes is something incredible. So I'm excited to get there later on.
Absolutely. And I think we start to see a bit of a demise in the alliance between Mars and Aston. I think there's starting to be a little
crazy
bit between those 2. They were pretty tight buddies at the start of the season, and now I think it's starting to unravel a little bit.
Yeah.
Aston doesn't seem to trust Mars anymore.
Which,
and I think,
can we just stop there? I don't understand. I wonder if Aston was going into protection mode here, because he is throwing Mars under the bus this whole episode, and I don't get it. I'm like, these 3 have come through as a tight, now as a tight 3 from this tight 4, and suddenly I feel like Aston's going into panic mode and throwing Mars's name out right, left, and center. I mean, we see that he was initially sharing with Mars that Nat had found the idol. And I was like, okay, we're establishing they're still in this relationship. And then every other time you see Aston on screen, I feel like he's throwing Mars under the bus.
Yeah, I thought it came out of left field a little bit. So maybe it is, it's probably hard to think rationally in a quick game, or, like a lot of LRGs, there's not a lot of time, and maybe he's just working really quickly.
Well, let's take that concept. Do you think this was a good play for Aston? Do you think that throwing, like, because it's like the first person we see him do this to, where you've referred to, is Maddie, the most paranoid player I'm sure she's in the game, and is like, Mars has put your name out, and then Maddie's like, bang, and off she goes. So I was like, is this really just from a place of self-protection from Aston? Do you actually feel like he isn't, in with Mars? Why do you think he actually went through with these things?
Yeah, I feel like he's cornered himself a little bit too. Like, I feel like when you do that, you limit your options moving forward potentially, because well, maybe this word will get back to Mars at a future point. We don't know. We've got a comment here from Dan. It says, "Seems like Aston was approached by Mars relationships with the Blues," and
yeah.
That's always a good thing that comes up when you've got tribe swaps, right? You never know what relationships are built on the other side, and maybe a bit of paranoia comes into play when you are reformed, and then a vote might not go to plan, or you don't see it coming.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's Aston fueling the fire to say, if everything turns to crap this episode, thinking it's a one-person vote, pick Mars, not me. That's what I'm getting from Aston's play, right? He's just trying to be like, what? Let me survive one more. If we're the three on the bottom, let's kind of shift it as much as we can. But in turn, he gets information that Maddie doesn't trust Bree, and he's like, "Oh no, why do you think that?" And she's like, "She's literally voted for me every time," which I think is really funny, because Aston can't play that off. He's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, of course." So, that also helps Aston kind of go, okay, if I can fuel, I thought he might be fueling Bree's name to Maddie, but yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mentioned, it is the same Blues that he mutinied from. So, I think there are many dimensions to this game, which is probably the beauty of the game, right? Like,
for sure.
Any game, it's probably not even 3-dimensional. It's probably multi 4 or 5-dimensional. So, but yeah, and then I think we do see Aston approach Mushy, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And rinse and repeat. he's like Mars, get him under the bus. But I think what we see here is that kind of that pulling to be like, he's pulling on that Mushy connection to see if he can be protected, is really what I took from this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually quite liked Mushy's response here. She's like, well,
I agree.
Are you gonna work with me to the end? Like, what am I gonna get out of this? Like,
and she's in a good position, seemingly, to be able to ask for that, to be like, you've seen me be loyal. I can be loyal.
Yeah.
If you're going to be loyal to me, I'll take it. And I really did think, okay, that's a really good conversation for the both of these two to go, can we move forward together? Mushy is potentially, I say potentially, but in eventuate, she's on the bottom of a lot of these alliances. So I wondered if that was a good play for her to go through. So I really like that play from Mushy and from Aston. They were the right people to be talking to, but not the couple you expected to see, which I really like. When you see those two people on screen and you're like, wait, you interact in the game? Like, this is crazy to me. So I think props to them for having insightful conversations about it.
Oh, absolutely. And then I think we see the Will and Bree chat. So they have a bit of a download. And they talk about the Jordan vote, essentially. Like, I think it's pretty clear. Bree makes it pretty clear that Jordan was her number one.
Yeah.
And that, is true, but it's possibly also I don't want to say a good cover, because I think they were genuinely an alliance, but and Will does mention it, like, having her separated from Jordan does free her up to play her own game, and Bree does say that as well. Do we actually think that's the case?
I didn't until we went to confessional with Bree. Like, I don't know, because I was like, Bree's playing. This is a good play by Bree. And then it pops up and she's like, glad to be free of him. And I was like, what? Didn't you just say he was your number one? I thought it was a really good conversation. And I don't know if she just has to, like, in an LRG, you just have to gaslight yourself into being like, well, that was good for me. And I wonder if Bree just did that so quickly. But I don't know. I don't know if that is the best. I don't know. I do believe she was being genuine, yes, to answer your question. But I was shocked that that she was taking that approach. And like the authenticity with it really seemed to stick with Will, right? He seemed to go, okay, she actually does believe that Jordan leaving is good for her game.
Yeah.
So regardless of whether it was completely honest or not from Bree's perspective, I really believe it worked for her. What do you think?
Yeah. I think I actually liked that it was an honest conversation, or it felt like an honest conversation between the two. They went, all right, this is what's good for me, and this is probably what's good for you, and it's good for both of us. Like, I feel like that was a conversation that might bear a future alliance moving down the track, hopefully.
Yes.
Interesting comment from Dan here where Bree says, I don't care about Miles, I don't care about Aston. She only cares about us, which is, in a game like Survivor, that's exactly what you should be looking out for.
Yeah, but how far does that get you? And Bree knows that. Like, she is a smart player. So I don't know how much, where she says that, and I can't remember, does she say that in a confessional or does she say that to Will? Because I think that's two different things.
It was in a confessional, I think, from memory.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting that there's this thankfulness kind of that comes through.
Yeah.
So, she's open, right? She's open to a whole new alliance.
Yeah. And I think Will sees the opportunities there too. Like,
yes,
if Bree is, freed up to play her own game, then, that's potentially another number that can vote with him as well.
And Bree is nothing but consistent in her conversation here with pitching who she's been pitching for the last 100 episodes.
Oh, who's that? Who's that? So
yeah, Queen Maddie, poor Maddie. And she pitches Mushy as well. But I think it was really, you see the annoyance that Bree brings now. She's like, I'm annoyed that Maddie is still here. Which I think is really funny, like that it's still coming through this kind of rivalry we get to see kind of develop and eventuate in this episode with the Bree versus Maddie, and even where the votes go in the last vote, I think is really funny. But yeah, I don't know. I think she pitches to Will Maddie again, and then he perceives Maddie to be threatening, is what he says. Yeah. Do you think Maddie is a threat at this stage of the game?
I don't think Maddie's necessarily a threat, but I think what everyone is probably struggling with is she's inconsistent or unpredictable. Yes. And so with that, it's hard to play your game when there are too many variables as it is, but when you have another one that is also introducing additional variables to an already complicated game, it's probably, I think part of the plan is to eliminate those unknowns as much as you can. Yeah. So you can play
the extra twist of the game, right? Navigating Maddie's paranoia, it seems like for some people, that's how they feel. And I agree. I think that is the perceived threat. It maybe not threat in the sense of she's got a lot of social capital, but it's the threat in that she seems to be bouncing around so much that people don't know where the ball is going to land. It's like roulette, it feels like, because she's just going around in all those conversations and you're like, where does the ball land before tribal council? And is it landing on a number that's good for me?
That being said, though, as a viewer, I love watching
Oh my God, she's amazing. Exceeded all my expectations. I feel sorry for her in the sense that I'm like, God, her cortisol levels must be through the roof. This stress is really getting to her. But entertaining nonetheless. And she's not afraid to say what she thinks either, Maddie.
That's right. And I think we probably need to remember that she is a returnee in this game. So she's, she's played it once before. She's probably wanted to play this game a little differently, and it'd be nice to hear her insights into that. But yeah, she did, as Derek said, she did have some really good reads in this game. She was, on the money on quite a number of occasions.
But I wonder if that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Her reads are good because she's like, is it me? It's me, it's me. And it's like, well, it is you now, girl, chill out.
That's true.
But we see her with Mushy, right? Next. And they kind of talk about how they need to split up a little bit, her, Janine, and Mushy, from kind of not, well, I think Mushy brings it up, and not being too close together with each other. So they're not perceived as a new three, because they were talking last episode about the power of Mushy and Maddie. I guess I'm kind of like, okay, you guys really started spreading apart here in this episode. Like, I wish they come back a little bit more.
But it is a three that does come up when people are trying to figure out what happened at the last vote. that does
for sure.
come up as a potential, not a potential threat, but a potential click that is hard to unpack, I think, for the other players.
Yeah. And, I feel like it's further solidified because we then see Janine talk about the fact that she felt she was blindsided by
Yes.
the Maddie vote. And I'm like, okay, well, that firmly puts her back in Maddie's camp, right? Because she was left out of that potential vote from those original Reds. So I can see why they go, okay, we are locked in, Mushy, Janine, and Maddie. And let's not make this too obvious, because it seems like the obvious groupings, like Derek, Anthea, Will, Bree, Aston, Mars, are the ones that kind of get swung about a little bit.
Yeah. Because I think Janine thought it was a Derek vote, but obviously she was blindsided when she saw Maddie's name come up at that last tribal.
Yeah, she was given the fake plan, and and that solidifies to her that she's not in with that faction. She even uses the word controlled. She's like, I feel like I'm being controlled. I don't want to be controlled by them anymore. And I'm like, whoa, that's really emotive. It's got Janine fired up that she is not really working with these people. And I think she's right. Again, a great read by Janine. To be like, I'm not in with these people. And that really, I think, shakes her for the rest of this episode.
Yeah, and that is something you see in this game a lot, where people reach a threshold where they feel like, I'm being told what to do, I do not like it, I'm going to rebel, I'm going to switch, I'm going to take my own, course of action here. So it's interesting, Janine here.
It seems like her game is evolving in the sense that she, it seems like her play for this round, as in in this game, season, is to be under the radar. She constantly brings up this under the radar game. She wants to be there. She wants to be in the votes and in the majority, but she doesn't want to be seen as the head of the snake, right? She doesn't want to be cut off. But it seems like people perceive her to be the tail in some type of way. And they're like, well, you got to cut one end. And it's starting to seem like this episode, that strategy is unraveling a little bit for Janine. And it feels like, for me, the first time that I'm like, oh, she's on rocky ground.
Yeah. And she does have some really good reads in this episode later on too, but we'll get to that. We have the girls and Derek chat, and they actually refer to themselves as the girls and Derek group. So we had Nat, Janine, Maddie, and they talk about, I think this is when Mars gets floated as a power player here. So I think Maddie's now floating Mars as an option.
Yes. No, I think we do. We see her float Mars, but she also apologizes for floating Derek's name, which I thought was a really interesting conversation as well.
Oh, that's right. Just before.
Yeah, it's kind of the fact that, and I think it's a great conversation from both of them, because I was like, that is a shaky conversation to have, where she comes forward and she's like, yeah, Derek, I did float your name. Oopsie, it was me. And he's like, I know. Girl. But I think it's validating for Derek to be like, at least she's going to come forward and provide me that information. Because it seems like she wants to work with him.
Yeah. And Derek does say later on in the episode, information is power in this game. And if you have someone feeding that to you, that is, invaluable. Nice comment.
But yes. Oh, yeah.
Nice comment from Derek about Janine. She's not afraid to kill this season. And a silent assassin's not a bad play.
Yeah, for sure. And you were talking to the fact that the girls are having this discussion, plus Derek, around Mars.
Yes. And I think Will's name gets thrown in as well in the mix here. And this is where Nat gets a little worried, because she does feel like she's got a working relationship with Will here. And so I think she's trying to keep his name out of the mix, is what I sort of take from that. And Nat also sees that Mars potentially not wanting to work with her in the long term as a potential red flag. So she's semi on board with that plan.
For sure. And I think these conversations is the most powerful conversations to be in, because you get insight from other players on how willing they are to let that name slide, right? You start to see relationships that you may not really see the strength of until people are pitching things. And I think that puts someone like Derek in a really good spot, because he's in multiple alliances. And Anthea, I don't see her in in that particular conversation. She's in the girls group as well, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And it's like those two particularly I see being and hearing and a lot of these kind of incidental conversations and picking up these incidental reads to make sure that they know where the relationships lie.
Yeah. There we go. We've got a comment from Derek there about that's spoken about it before.
Her conversation with Maddie.
Yeah, when they voted for Jordo, but this is the first time she actually came clean about throwing Derek's name under the bus.
Yeah. Yeah, so in that conversation, it ends up with them kind of solidifying a little bit of Mars's name. And then at the end, Janine's like, so who's that name again? And Maddie says, you need to listen, Janine. And I was like, whoa, oh my gosh, watch out, Maddie. You know, I know it's the paranoia speaking, but I was like, oh, these are those tiny little social faux pas that I feel like are putting her on the back foot.
Yeah.
Do you think the paranoia is impacting on Maddie's social skills at the moment?
I think it's hard to say that it's not.
Yeah.
I think in this game, paranoia can come off very irrational and it's contagious, right? So if you're coming off a little paranoid, sketchy, your social game's going to be impacted by that, and it's gonna flow through for any of those conversations that you have with the other players.
Yeah, it's hard to be a chameleon when you're so stressed. And it feels like Maddie here is like, you know what, I'm putting this into turbo gear because I do feel like I'm on the chopping block.
Now, I might just say that someone that isn't a very stressful or paranoid player I thought was very cool, calm, and collected. Is Mushy. And spoiler alert, if you haven't watched this episode, we'll get to it a bit later, but Mushy was the first player eliminated in this episode. But that being said, we're lucky to have her join us on stage this week. So I would like to introduce you all to Mushy. Welcome to Backbenchers, Mushy.
Hello.
Can you hear us okay?
Hello.
I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes. Loud and clear. Welcome to the Backbenchers, Mushy. Thanks for joining us tonight. Sad to see you go in this episode, and we'll kind of unpick that a little bit later. But firstly, I'll just ask, did you have a good time on this season of Survivor Canberra?
I definitely did. It took me a bit of time to kind of analyze everything that happened during that time. But 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, I was like, that was the most fun I had in a long time.
And it's you go, Zach.
No, I was just going to say, I love your story. Like, you know, I feel like you played like 30 seasons of Survivor in one season, with all of the turmoil you had to navigate and get through, and the fact you thought you were going home so many times, and the flips and the flops, and the necklace of it all. What was your favorite part of the season?
I'm trying to think of my favorite part, but I reckon working with other people was my favorite part. Trying to come with strategies, running around, trying to have a good and fun game, and not being eliminated was a thrill for me, I guess. Winning that immunity challenge was also a really big one.
Yeah.
Because I knew I finally got to rest a bit. I was so tired at that point. I was like, I just need a bit of a break. I need one time where my name is not going to go into the tribal council.
Yeah,
you were fighting from the bottom a little bit, Mushy. I think there were some very close calls, I think, in the early tribals, but you still got through them. What do you think was the secret to your success, or what do you think you were able to do that just slide through to the next tribal, get through the next immunity tribal council?
I believe it was trying to find the little crack in the wall, and at different times it was different things. I believe once I was switched tribes, it was learning about the internal issues they had with Maddie and Bree, That for me was the biggest thing that kept me going as far as much as I could. When I was in Wula Tribe, it was people who I can work with. I can already see some comments from earlier from some of my favorite people.
Yep.
Will, Derek, there, Eden, Dan himself as well, and all the other people, Delhi and everyone there. So working with Derek and Will also gave me some good views, as well as working with Rose and Nancy at some point. So it was just jumping from one group to another, one solution to another until I kind of finally got eliminated out.
At the end of the episode, we kind of hear a little bit from you, Mushy, and you kind of talk about that you had a lot of fun, but you also mentioned that you kind of didn't play the perfect game, that you did make a few mistakes. Have you reflected on those and sort of maybe what you would do differently if you had, another chance to play?
Yes, I definitely had some time to reflect. Before going into the game, I knew about Survivor. I was a fan, but it was many years ago when I watched the full-on season. So coming into the game, I just freshened up my knowledge and I was like, okay, I got this. But one thing that you forget if you haven't been watching for quite the time is the most important part of Survivor is deception, lying, backstabbing, and knowing when you need to switch a boat. There's no point in staying on a drowning boat until the very end. And I believe that was my mistake. I would determine what I'm going to do, and I'm going to stick with it until I'm drowning to the end.
Yeah. Speaking of drowning boats, I feel like, you threw Rose off the Titanic and into the water, right? I feel like there was that rivalry with you and her, and then you kind of beat it out in the end. How do you feel like you navigated in that swap tribe to make sure that it was Rose and not you?
Funny enough, I only came to remember this rivalry when the episodes came out.
I love that.
Because at the end of the day, when we were done, the game was done, everything was finished. It was never in my head that Rose was one of the people that I had a direct rivalry with. Or that we had, personal one-to-one kind of conflict. It was more about she wanted to survive, I want to survive. But looking back at the episodes, Rose did a lot for me. I can see that. And looking at her votes, she didn't vote against me until the very end. But what happened was it started very early on when I was speaking with Ben about returnees with newbies. And then the idea that they're going to be working together. In the back of my head, I was like, you know what, it doesn't really matter. But then as we kept progressing, and with the second vote on Simon, when 3 votes were against me, I was like, it's the 3 returnees. Something in my head clicked. And I was like, it is Rose, it's Ansia, and Simon. I never thought it was going to be Nat. And I think that's something that also took me down at the very end. Because for some reason, we didn't work together, but I had so much trust that she would not put my name. And from there, the little rivalry we had went on.
I feel like there's another particular frenemy combination you have, and that's with Maddie, right? I love your face light up when you're like, go on, go for it. Tell me about Maddie.
I enjoyed the chaos Maddie did. It was very distracting for me. And for me, that was really helpful. If I could find anyone else who can take the spotlight off me for a bit, I would take it. It was an opportunity that I needed to use quite well. And I also noticed a bit of mistrust happening with Janine and the rest of the tribe. So Janine and Maddie, they were at the outer circle of that tribe. So I was able to work with them just to make sure that I stay as long as possible. With Maddie, we would have been a really good team if we worked it right. But then at the end, they were like, Maddie's throwing your name. Maddie was going around throwing names, so I was not gonna be like, it's not possible. So that's how it ended. She was putting my name, I was putting her name, and
I unfortunately feel like both of you were the the classic, throw a name out there and that's always the name that's going to be in the mix, even though it isn't the real vote. And it's so hard when that's the kind of position that you put in, because you never know whether it's going to happen or whether it's not going to happen. But you picked her over Aston in that kind of split tribal, right? You kind of put, you didn't put your neck out on the line in the sense that you were safe, but she seemed like she was the only person to really connect with you before that vote happened. How did you feel about sending Aston out of the game, and then how it felt when he came back in it for you? Because I felt like, oh no, for Mushy, this is probably the worst person who could have come back, because she made an overt move to get rid of him.
I believe Aston, he has a very clear game. He's a very honest person. So when I came to the tribe and I was trying to find the bit of like gaps, he was one of the few who was not going to move like his position.
Yeah.
He was going to stay with Bree, with Jordan, and he's not going to try to play around.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult having any sort of conversation with him. And I didn't take it personally. So when he did come back, he had a different attitude. I was like, you know what? This works with me. Anyone ready to work with me, I'm ready to work with them. And I felt that could have worked well, because people would not expect it as well. So didn't last too long because I got out at the end, but could have went on well.
No, but I think that's something we've been sort of remarking on early on in this pod, where you are actually genuinely open to options when people come to you, and that's a genuine, way to play the game. It may not have panned out after merge, but we've got some interesting stats from our, Queen Eden. You're the first player in Survivor Canberra history to go to every pre-merged tribal council. You went to 6 in a row, which just seems a little insane. And following on from that, just a question from Ashley, one of our other backbenchers. Did you have a favourite spot at tribal council? Because you were there way too much.
I liked sitting at the front ones and sitting on the side. I don't know, it just felt a bit comfy, because at the back there was too much chaos going on. And when you're already stressed out, the last thing you need to do is hear a conversation going on and not being able to be part of it. So front towards the side was my favorite, I guess.
I mean, that's a really good segue, and we'll probably touch, like Zach and I might touch on this later on in the pod, but that last tribal council before your vote was, I think, the most live tribal council we've had in this season so far. Can you sort of shed any light on all of the whispering and chaos that was happening around you? Because that would have been very unsettling, I imagine, if you weren't in those conversations.
As we were going to tribal, that was the most difficult point in the game, because I felt like I lost all my alliances. I was speaking to Will, he was giving me nothing back. He was trying to avoid it. I was speaking to Derek, he was avoiding it. Then Maddie was telling me, your name is out there, they're coming for you. It was a lot of paranoia. It was a lot of not getting that trust signal that, calm down, nothing is going to happen. And I believe when it came to the voting was not as bad as I expected it. And my alliances did not end up putting me out there. However, I was already a target from the original Buru tribe. I believe those were the main core ones who took me out. But then with all the paranoia, not getting the right signals, I was also in there, vote this person, vote that person. And everyone was trying to get a name out.
Yeah.
I mean, what else can you do in that scenario, right? I think it's kind of, you need to throw a name and just hope that it sticks. And you do try and do that in that last tribal council.
Yes. Yeah, you were really throwing, I guess, Maddie out as the option. I think you said something like, let's just vote Maddie and then we'll let the chaos happen in the second vote.
One thing I didn't understand about the 2 votes, so that was also something that really took me out of the game, is I didn't understand that we will do the first vote and then after that we're going to go for another vote. I saw that from the very start, you're going to go in there, you're going to put 2 names.
Right.
So I was trying to control the 2 votes at some point.
Yeah.
And looking at that, that's the craziest thing you can ever try to do, is control 2 votes, have the 2 names ready.
Yeah.
And that's when we went on her own, I went on my own, Janine went on her own, and we were all trying to work something out. But for me, it was a bit too much. Like, if I'm trying to make sure my name doesn't come twice, that was just what took me, I guess, at the end.
Yeah. Do you think it would have been different if Janine was there? Or it seemed like you, Maddie, and Janine were kind of working together at a point in time, like, or if it was a single vote, do you think you would have had a bit more control?
If it was a single vote, definitely, because it's a bit more predictable. If I focused on the first vote and I relaxed a bit, I believe the fractions happening within the tribe would have worked on their own. At that point, I believe there were other names people were trying to get out. Mars was someone people really wanted out. I'm trying to see who else. Nat as well. So there were already names out there that were ready. But me being paranoid, working with Maddie, that was enough reasons for everyone to be like, we need a bit more quiet and peace to get our game going.
Yeah.
Not everyone gets to win an immunity challenge, Mushy, and you managed to successfully win one. And I thought that was probably one of the hardest challenges, I think, in this season so far. Do you remember, did you feel like that was a real possibility when you were doing that challenge? Or how long did that challenge go for? Because I feel like, on in an episode, it could have felt like, a few minutes, but were you there for 20 minutes, half an hour trying to get those 3 balls on the wooden panel in those holes? Because that looked insanely hard.
Look, after you have been to tribal for a few times, and you know that if you go to the next one, that would be it for you, you would be focusing. Like, I was focusing really hard, and I was trying to stay calm. And it wasn't too bad, actually, of a challenge.
Yeah. So good.
Not when you win.
That's right.
No, I love that for you. I think, to have you as the first winner of the first merge challenge was just such a great arc for your story, where I'm like, oh my God, she's had to cockroach herself all the way through the pre-merge to then come out and be like, don't count me out. I'm not just on the bottom. And I was like, she's in for a deep run. So I was really excited. I'm so sorry that your time got cut short, but you made the most of your time, which is really what is important in these LRGs. Really somebody to root for. And I think I just wanted to say I loved your demeanor. And just as a character, I feel like you brought something really new and fresh to the show that I hadn't seen before. You're clearly very thoughtful in the way that you articulate yourself, and you give nothing away on your face, which I find so hard to read, but so engaging to watch, because I'm like, what is Mushy thinking? So yeah, you should be really proud of the game you played, because it was really, really fun.
Thank you so much. And I did really enjoy playing the game. I did enjoy seeing how everyone else played their game. And it was a lot of thrilling moments, a lot of fun. And I got to become part of the Canberra Survivor community, which is my biggest win, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice.
It was so lovely seeing your game, Mushy. Another record that you hold is you have the most votes cast against you by other players in this season, and that is 17, excluding some penalty votes that Mel got in season 2. So the fact that you were able to last until merge, I think, is a phenomenal effort. And it was great seeing your game. Like, I think you were a genuine player. You played to your strengths, and you did what you needed to do to, get through as many tribal councils, which is a lot, as you could. Any sort of last reflections in terms of your appearance on this season?
I think I played true to my character. And the way I played Survivor is the way that I would have played any other game in real life, which has its advantages and disadvantages. Advantages is I get to test my character, I get to test what I do normally, and then I connect with people I can work with. The disadvantage is I don't get to become the sole survivor, which takes a bit more than just going as you normally would do in real life.
But you do get to be the queen of the jury. So I'm excited to still see you sitting there and watching you cast your vote for who to win the season.
Yeah, it was very fun as well in the jury. So you guys are up for a lot to see in the upcoming episodes.
We cannot wait. Thanks very much, Mushy. It's nice to finish on Derek's comment. You are Survivor Canberra, sweetheart. We're very lucky to have you. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was nice
Thank you
to
for
hear your
having me.
insights. And hopefully we'll see you around in the community again very soon.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mushy.
Bye, Mushy.
Oh,
she really is such a sweetheart, isn't she?
I must have. It's so nice to chat to players after seeing their arc.
Yeah,
come out
it
in
makes
the season.
I feel like there's like 1,000 questions you can ask people too. So one day there'll be a deep dive on everybody. But when everyone can talk about the season openly, and I feel like I just want to know more from her because she just went through so much. So
she did.
We really did lose a queen.
We did, and to think that she went through to 6 pre-merge tribal councils, that is phenomenal.
Crazy. Yeah.
Anyway, let's get back to the episode.
Sure.
And I think where we were up to was we learned about a new core 6.
Yes.
Now, how tight is this core 6? I don't know, but it is 3 ex Buru and 3 ex Gula. So we've got a chat that we see between Bree, Mars, Will, and Anthea.
Yes.
And they float the idea of a new emerging alliance, and it's getting 3 from either side. So it's those 4 plus Aston and Derek.
And
they talk about potentially becoming a new 6, which seems to work in their minds amongst the 4 of them. It seems to be a solid plan, at least. I think we need to recognize that Derek's not in that chat and Aston's not in that chat.
Yes.
And I actually find it funny. I know we talked about Nat's idol at the start, but this is where Bree and Mars also learn that Nat's got an idol because they weren't aware.
Well, Mars was aware because we saw him at the very, very start with Aston telling him. I think he says, "Oh, yes, Mars has got it." So I think this is some good acting from Mars to be like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know." And Will kind of drops the beans. I don't know if Bree knew. We didn't see any of that. But I do feel like this further solidifies some trust between Will and Mars, at least. Like, at least, I mean, it's public knowledge. You may as well use it to your advantage. But I do think that if Bree didn't know about that and that was the first time it coming up, it could put Aston in a spot because they literally were like, that's why Aston said, "Good job, Nat, at the challenge." I mean, at the tribal. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I found it really engaging as a viewer, but really interesting that Anthea and Will were really considering this plan.
Yes.
When I feel like, okay, these guys are on the bottom and to join them, they're coming to the top with you guys. How comfortable do you feel when these 3 we know is solidified? But I do, it's not like you're going to be like, Will and Anthea are going to be like, nah, sorry, don't want to do that in the moment. But it seems like they genuinely consider it and maybe going down that path for all we know.
Yeah. I think I was thinking the same thing, Zach. I'm like, I'm not sure how this will pan out for them in terms of Will and Anthea. I'm not sure what the plus sides or the positives are. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it sounds like they were considering a Natalie blind side. In that group, they were talking about, well, she's got an idol, let's get rid of her. And we also see the later conversations with Anthea being like, I mean, is it the best idea to flush an idol of someone that trusts me, who shared that information with me? And I do feel like they've made the right decision by keeping her in the game. Or Anthea did, at least.
But again, I think sometimes people can play by rules as opposed to playing the game and go, let's just flush an idol. Let's just flush an idol because it's an idol out of play is sometimes better. That's probably why they were sort of considering it.
And that's when I say that you gaslight yourself, but it seems to be Mars's character where he wants that idol gone. But I'm like, why wouldn't you? He's the one that, is going to be on the butt side of it. However, when everyone's votes are so limited, I thought as an LRG player, I was like, this is not the time to flush an idol because You don't even know no one knows. Clearly, this was an absolute mess, this upcoming scramble, but like no one knows really truly where the votes seem to be going. And to try and flush an idol and then not catch the votes when you're on the opposite alliance, I was like, whoa, this is a risky play from Mars if that's really what he's going to gun for, because clearly he's not working with Nat.
Oh, there we go. And his face when Will spoke about the idol with Breen Mars was hilarious.
Yeah, and I did find it funny, but I do think it was the right play. They were going to find out about that information anyway.
Exactly. And Will, as Will said, well, he just assumed, well, that's fair enough because she did get it in front of everyone. So
yeah, still think it's the right thing to do. It builds those relationships, right?
Yeah. And I think this is the first little snippet that we see where I think Anthea starts to sort of verbalize that Will's playing a really hard game. And she actually says, oh, maybe I need to think about Derek as my number one because Will's just playing too good a game. So we'll see how
tricky.
Very tricky, right?
Because what does Will do in that situation? Stop playing a good game? Like, it's like, you know. I think that's why people are viewing, like, it seems like the biggest cross-faction alliance seems to be Will and Mars. And I think that's why we constantly hear these two, like, painted as the face of these alliances because of the cross-tribal, like, the obvious, like, everyone, you know, and Will and Mars know this, everybody has cross-tribal lines, but it's easy to paint targets on people that aren't you to be like, well, when the time comes to it, it's Mars and Will. They're the two, the big guys of the alliance, where I'm like, I think that's other people covering for themselves and their own alliances. So I think it's just an unfortunate, you know, role. And I don't think it helps that both of them were the last two in the planking challenge that we'll come to talk about. Where I'm like, you know, they're challenge beasts. I'm like, you know, not disarming that, but I'm just like, you know, they obviously do very well. I'm just saying it's an unfortunate way to paint another target on the two of them to go, oh, they're also really good in challenges, because they are.
Sometimes the game just paints the narrative for you, right? So if that's what's laid out in front, you're going to play those cards.
I think the paint is there by the game, but the players are the ones holding the brushes, and the strokes that they're painting make it so that these guys are the ones there. You know, you can paint any narrative you want with
that's true.
If you're good enough.
Alrighty. So I think this is when we get to the first the immunity challenge. And we do learn about the twist. We've kind of sort of spoken about it briefly with Mushy. But I think this is always going to be a huge spanner in the works in any game. Yeah. But we'll have two tribal councils. Everyone only gets to vote once. Asterisk that. We do know that Aston has the double vote challenge from the Grasslands of Gloom. The tribal councils are back to back. You can only vote once. So,
and they don't know that there is an immunity challenge in the middle. Again.
They don't, which you've already talked about, Zach. How does one navigate this, or do you just not?
Oh, girl, I'm like, I was sitting there shocked myself. Like you know, when I do the thing where you're watching the episode and you're like, how am I going to get through this? What would I do? And I was also shitting my pants on the couch. I was like, I have no idea what would happen in this time, because it's so hard. And then I was running like the production, like, oh my God, what if everybody votes on the first vote and nobody votes on the second vote? And then it's like, oh my gosh, what would happen? And, you know, you're fully in it, because it just kind of breaks your brain to go, we've never seen something like this, which is exciting. It's just difficult to navigate. So yeah, I don't know what I would have done in that moment, or even in the scramble. Do you have an idea of how you'd navigate a vote like this?
No, I don't think I would. So I got to just be like, help, hands up, help.
Yeah. And this is why we sit on the backbench, right? Yeah, exactly, Mars. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, crossing those fingers and toes. That's
exactly what I'd be doing. Or I think that's option one. Option two is Dan's comment. Like, you know, when there's so many variables and unknowns, I think you kind of just probably need to have as many conversations as you can, but also calmly.
Exactly. But the first thing I would really try and do is win this challenge, which is a ball balancing challenge, right? And it seems like those dreams were pretty much squandered for almost everybody but 4 people immediately.
When I was watching that challenge, it looks super hard. I don't know how you start with the ball at the top of a semicircle.
Yeah.
And as we saw, I think 4, 5, 6 people dropped out in the first 10 seconds.
It was only Bree, Derek, Aston, and Nat that make it past the first couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was watching Bree's ball on her
Oh
semicircle.
my gosh.
With interest, because how did it stay in that corner for so long?
I don't know. I was like, oh, is there a flat piece? I mean, firstly, props to production. These challenges have been amazing, and watching them, make all these things and do stuff like that, you never know how it's going to go. Also with Aston, I was like, did he touch it that one time? I don't know. I'm such a stickler for the rules. I'm like, looking at the TV,
I did the same thing. I had to pause and go, is he? No. Is he
touching that?
Yeah. Is he still
I don't know about that. Yeah. But no, I don't know how you do it. But once you're locked in, it seems like you're locked in, because these 4 did amazing.
Yeah. And then I think as soon as there's any movement on the ball seemed really, really light. Free.
Maybe that last time seemed pretty concrete, but before that, I think you were good.
Yeah. But I think that the balls are so light that as soon as there's any movement, I think correcting it to stay on was virtually impossible. I think we saw that.
Yeah.
Derek was locked in. His ball did not move at all. So, but what a good immunity challenge to win.
Yeah.
Right.
Amazing. Double vote that you're safe for. That's crazy. So that's, that's what you really want. Because, Derek's the only one that doesn't really need to panic.
Yeah. And Derek, that is the right strategy, because it is the only foolproof strategy in a world of unknowns.
Yeah. Unless you're going to give the necklace up. And I was like, is that going to happen? This is crazy. Yeah, I don't think you would, but still.
We haven't seen that. We haven't seen that for a while, have we?
No, because it doesn't work out very well usually.
No,
so. I can understand why people don't want to do that in an analogy. And not a double vote. I will not be doing that. So he wins.
He does. And I just wanted to give props to the props team again, because that immunity necklace looks great on Derek, if I must say myself. That matched your shirt really well, Derek.
The aesthetics, you got it right.
And then we actually now see that Core 6, I don't know what to call it, the Core 6 Alliance, probably the new term. Anthea does float it to Derek. And I think this is the first time Derek probably hears about it. Now, I think he's a little iffy on it.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to love it.
He's a little mistrusting of Mars and then Bree a little bit as well. And he's like, I prefer if one of them went.
Yeah. So do you think it is in, hypothetically, obviously, do you think it's in Derek's best interest to work with this new 6 and cut Mushy, because it eventuates, but that is a strong number he had.
Yeah. And they've worked closely, and he's fostered that alliance and that relationship over the course of the previous day. But he does remark earlier on in the episode where he talks about he gets a little worried when Mushy airs a bit too much information, and he gets a little concerned that it's not a tight enough vault for him to play his game. And I think that's probably the first instance where he's questioning whether or not Mushy does work for his game. So that being said, I feel like the Core 6 doesn't necessarily work out, or is in Derek's best interest yet. I think probably his best play is to keep all the options open, which I think is probably doing. But I'm not sure if the Core 6 is, and I think he's playing it. Yeah, I think he's playing it cautiously, optimistically at the moment.
Yeah. I think the best thing he's doing in that conversation is being open to it, despite the vibes coming off initially as I'm not, his voice for the first time, I feel like he's usually so good at covering it, was like, I don't want to do that. But his words were saying, but I'm going to take it on board. I'm definitely going to consider this. And I think that's what Derek's really good at, is shutting down no ideas. especially with the tightest people he's working with.
Yeah. Particularly Anthea, right? Like, Anthea is the one that's come to him with that.
Yeah, and they
that
seem
offer.
really, really close. And, you know, like Anthea said earlier, she thinks he is the closest. So if Derek was to give her some inflexible vibes, maybe she swings a bit closer back to Will, you know?
Yeah. I think that's something Derek does really well. The air he gives off is very open, but when you see him in his confessional, he's like, this has gone exactly to plan. Or whatever the case may be. He's like, yeah, this has worked out for me. So
yeah. And then we see a very different type of conversation between Maddie and the entirety of the former Red Alliance, which was probably my favorite scene.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
And I quote, I don't even know if it's worth me trying to convince you not to vote for me. It's like one of the first things she says straight off the bat. And even the positioning of like Maddie being here and the rest of them being here, I just thought framing, wow, perfect. This is really telling the narrative. But it was a good point from her. Should she have trusted this group again?
I think, but they're all distrusting of each other. Like there's I feel like there's no matter how many olive branches are offered here, I don't think anything could patch up.
No,
I guess the bad that's been done in the past. Like we know
I think they need a forest of olive branches. Sawmill, maybe, I don't know.
And also one of my favorite quotes is, "I'm not leading them."
I think, I don't know, the demeanor of Maddie in this conversation, like when she's so angry and they're like shouting back and forth and they're like, no, he voted with you. And she's like, no, he didn't. No. He voted with you. And they're like, no. And then it's like, you're leading, I'm not leading that mob. And then it's like, is it Bushy? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, it's just a switch. She's like, oh, I could throw her under the bus here. And that's the first time you see her do it.
It was very comical. The whole scene was comical.
Yeah. Do you think Bushy was actually in control of those votes the last round? No, neither do I.
Not at all.
Yeah. I don't know where they were getting that from, or whether that was just to set Maddie up to defuse her, or whether they genuinely thought Bushy was like a big player in that round. But I did think it was interesting that Maddie just said yes. And I felt like this was the time that Maddie could have said, no, it's Derek, it's Anthea, it's anybody that wasn't someone she was working with. And this is where I think she starts to sink a little bit of her and Bushy's game together.
Yeah. And I had to rewatch it a few times because I kind of missed it a couple of times until,
you were laughing too hard?
Possibly. But yeah. I also love how Janine is very keen to get to Desperation Station. I feel like there's someone trying to convince her. Hang on. Just hold your horses. Maybe just think about what the implications are.
It's like running up, right? Please stop. Let me talk about a plan. Oh well, do whatever. You're gone.
Don't think Brie was successful there, unfortunately. I think she just wanted to go, no. Just think about it. It's a double tribal council.
I love watching Brie in the sense that I think it feels like every scene with her in it, it feels like from her perspective, she's playing with just like zoo animals or something, where she just can't get a wrangle on anybody, and you see her like chasing someone down or being in this argument, and she's trying to come from the most like logical and unemotive space, being like, how do I get this done, get these votes locked? And it's just so funny to me that it feels like she's chasing her tail all the time, being like, these people, I can't get them in on the votes. But at the same time, she's running this like a navy, these votes. She put her butt into gear.
She was the commander of these votes. She's like, all right, Alliance A, Group A.
Yeah, Group A. We'll get there. Sorry, I'm missing Janine's desperation.
No, we will get there.
But yes, Janine is like, yank, I'm taking that, and she's off to Desperation Station. Do you think this was a good play for Janine?
Well, as it turns out, it was. I think like we don't know this at the time, but she does note a question in her mind is whether or not I played at the first tribal or the second tribal. And I think one of her great reads, one of Janine's great reads in this episode is where she goes, they're all going to think I'm going to play it at the first because they're not going to think that I know exactly what I'm doing, but I know what I'm doing. So I'm going to play it in the second. And that actually, I think, pans out really well for her. in this game. But I thought that was a really good insight, that she had a really good read on what other people thought of her.
I agree.
Played that to perfection.
I think, yeah, and I mean, you hear Brie say it. She's like, she's going to play it on the first one, so we're going to shoot for her for the second. So when she holds on to it, I do think it creates some type of tension. Like, I don't know if Maddie was really going home. It's such a small amount of votes that it's so hard to say. I'm sure the players will have more insight than me, but I do wonder if it falls apart a little bit because people are like, oh, Janine should be the second vote, and you hear that a lot in this episode. And I don't know whether it's to shield what, you know, with the edit, or whether Janine was really in trouble in the second vote. But you know, she doesn't get it. But I think enough of the as in, like, she doesn't end up getting the advantage, but I think the advantage in itself was the deterrent of potentially playing the advantage in such a small tribal. So I do think it was probably not great for her relationships not to be there. Because she ends up losing 2 allies that actually she probably could have wrangled a little bit closer and directed something with, but she didn't get shot at. So I think that's probably for her the most important thing. I just don't know where Janine genuinely falls now. Like, for me, one of my questions earlier about Janine is like, who is she working with now? Because she's told us she doesn't feel comfortable with those original Reds, but we never see her talking to that blue faction, and she's tied in with Maddie and Mushy, but now they're gone. I feel like she's going to be a little bit like, she's a free agent for sure, but I don't know if that's a good thing for her right now. I just don't know how she's going to move a bit more, I guess.
Yeah. Interesting comment from Brie where she says she was happy to keep the possibility of Janine on the table instead of the core 6. So we might see how that pans out. And I also want to give kudos to you, Zach, because I think you have hit the nail on the head with Brie, because I think
that's good.
She's in fits of laughter right now.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I'm glad we're seeing eye to eye on how you're playing your game.
And she's traveling at the moment, so she must be having a good time.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So,
and Derek saying, meanwhile, Maddie is throwing Janine's name back at camp, which is so true. I'm like, God.
Yeah.
Look, I don't know if that's coming up next, because I have a lot to say about that. We'll get to it now because there's one conversation that happens before it. We'll go back to it. Maddie is like, she says something, and I was like, not mad at it. I'm not mad at Maddie, obviously. It's funny, but she says she's happy to cut Janine because she's blasé and she hasn't helped her at all.
Yes.
And I was like, girl, do you not remember that vote when Janine and Mushy were the only ones who saved you from going home?
Yep.
Like, I was like, Janine has kept you in this game for so long. What are you talking about? I just thought it was wild, and just spoke to maybe the amount of panic that Maddie was in. That's when I started feeling bad for Maddie, because I was like, oh my God, like, you're going to cut the people that actually want to have you in this game. But maybe it was anyone but me strategy, which is pretty much what she talks to later. But I do think if Janine was in that camp and heard that Maddie was throwing out her name, Maddie would have been the first one gone. I was like, Janine would not be having that.
No. And I guess that's the difficulty, right? If you're not in those conversations, you can't steer them. You can't shift them.
But I do think, and I wonder if it's to Bree's point where she says she kind of shot her own game a little bit, is like she started throwing Mushy and Janine's name out there, which I feel like were the people she was loyal to. And when you start to hear someone has thrown everybody in the game's name out there, I don't know if people think that they can really trust you. Because even if she steered it away from Mushy and Janine, it would show that you can build trust with Maddie, and she does have people's back. So if I do show her I can trust her, we can go somewhere together. But once she threw out Janine and Mushy, I thought, oh, she's really severed all the ties here, and any information can kind of come back to these people, and that's it. And that's kind of what happens with Mushy. She's just like, well, see you later.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. I mean, and I think it's remarked earlier on in this episode, but where they talk about Maddie feels like she might be on the bottom and she'll do anything to get off it, right? And if you have someone that is willing to do anything, that could also mean a vote for you.
It's dangerous. And that's what Will was talking to in that kind of threat perception, I feel. So Bree and Anthea have a discussion, and about like Mushy in the first vote and Nat in the second vote. And then we get this confessional that Bree's like, this is the plan. And then she ends it with, but when has the plan ever actually gone to plan? And I was like, girl, you're speaking my language. Like it's so true. And I love that the insight is I can do the best that I can here, but you've got to prepare for things going awry. And I think that's what you see is people trying to put in, you usually have, right, a plan A and a plan B, and maybe even a plan C if someone is going to use an idol or something. When these votes are so split up, you've got to have plan A and B, AA, AB, AC, whatever it is. Yeah, there's so many things to consider, and it's so hard. So you can only go in with what you've got.
Yeah, you need a massive decision tree for this one, and a decision tree for everyone, right? It's not just you. Yeah. You kind of need to plan it for everyone. And I want to applaud Dan with his edit, because whatever when we have Bree explaining the plan to Anthea, Maddie, Will, and Mars, the background music that he has going was comedy gold, because it was like, wait, what's the plan? Hang on, wait, what? I thought that was brilliant. So I think they were largely set on Janine in that second vote with that one.
Yes. I think it's because Janine's not there too. It's easy to throw a name out of someone who's not there because it can't really get back to them. But I do think it was a genuine consideration.
It was. And I guess that's on the proviso that she does use her Desperation Station envelope in the first tribal. We start to see the Aston Mushy trying to build something. And I think this is the first time, Aston's shared his double vote legacy advantage.
Yeah, I think he may have shared it with Mars when the last episode when he first got back. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, this was the first time we've really seen it out in the open. Yeah. And Mushy of all people. I was like, okay, maybe we are seeing this kind of like the two people least likely to come together. And then he says, hey, did you hear that I'm throwing Mars under the bus? Let me throw him under the bus one more time for you. And also Maddie, for good measure.
And I think this is where Aston also tells Mushy, hey, I think people are saying that you're controlling the vote. And she was like, what?
Yeah, what are you talking about? Yeah. Yeah, okay, so Bree didn't know from what she said in the chat that maybe Aston had that advantage. Because this is also what I thought. Why are you telling people that aren't in your alliance? It's going to get back to them. It's going to find out. I mean, might not get back to them if you vote that person out of the game. So fair enough. But I did wonder about Aston's play here. It feels like I don't know. I feel like there was some panic that overtook him for these votes, and he really felt like he was on the chopping block. So he was trying to throw. He was really trying to throw anybody but himself under the bus at this. And I don't know, because he's made it through and he was supposed to be in this 6, or he is in this 6, what this has got to look like for Aston going forward, because it does feel like to me, he's setting himself up to almost be more damaging than Mars, and he may be the first of this red block to be cut.
Yeah. Has anyone gone to him with the 6 plan yet? Because he wasn't in the original discussions. And we do know... I don't think
we see that.
No, we don't see it here, but I do know when they do flag it with others.
I mean, if he knew about the 6 plan, the way that he voted is extremely confusing, and we'll get there. But yes, Mushy then kind of. Oh, there you go. We'll tell Aston. Ooh, spicy. Mushy thinks that Maddie and Mars will be the votes. Is kind of what we see next, which. Fair enough. We cut to then Mars that he's kind of heard his name for the first round, but he's kind of was then talking about flushing Nat's idol, which I think I kind of touched on my feelings about not feeling like it being a good plan for a double vote. I feel like that's setting Mars up to maybe be idled out, or at least an ally of his to be idled out. But I wonder if Mars was just kind of grasping for cracks. Like, I don't know if he's perceived where the cracks are with the Blue Alliance yet. Because you often see Anthea and Will, Anthea and Derek having we could probably cut Mushy, or we could probably cut Nat, but it doesn't seem like anyone's penetrated or perceived that. until this kind of 6 block that they pitched together to kind of really solidify those ties. And I must give credit to who, I can't remember if it was Brie or Mars who particularly pitched those set of people, but I think they got a good read of who they weren't willing to kind of go against.
Yeah. And then we do see the Will and Anthea chat. They're worried about, they talk about the Janine or Nat potentially being a target, and they're working it through, and or Mushy. And they're working through all of the scenarios about whether or not the idol gets played by Nat, whether or not Nat plays the idol on Janine.
Yeah.
But in short, I think we've probably gone through about 16
why they wouldn't go for Nat. Yeah. I agree too. Then we have the conversation, the confessional, the foreshadowing confessional of Anthea saying, I don't think my name's out there. I think I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to get any votes. And in the moment when I was watching the episode, I was like, you go, girl. I agree. You're not getting any votes.
Or if you put your head in going, why would someone put that in there?
Yeah. Silly me. Should have seen something coming. Should have had my spidey senses. But I think it's true. She's sitting there being like, I haven't heard her name. I haven't heard her name as a viewer. So I'm like, fair enough.
That is true.
And can we touch on this now? Why do we think that the vote from Aston goes to Anthea?
I have no idea, and I can't piece it together. And I reckon there's something. It foreshadows something in the next.
I don't know. I'm like flabbergasted. I was like, oh my gosh! From all the panic from Aston, why did it go to Anthea? Because I was like, if you've been dragged into this 6, maybe you're going to blow this up for Brie and Mars, like who's finally got a hook on climbing out of this hole. Okay, reveal all.
Oh,
we'll get some.
Oh no, Brie, don't reveal too much. We also see a bit of a scramble on the walk down to Tribal. It feels like it's on the walk down. Like Maddie goes to Mushy.
Yes. Yeah.
You're in danger. You're in danger.
You're in danger, girl. Watch out.
Watch out. Literally. I might vote for you later. But but I think Maddie's clutching at straws on that walk down. I think she's trying to figure out what she's going to do. Tell me who to vote for.
Yeah.
She chats to Anthea in that.
Yeah. And you can see that they're not giving her much, which is the telltale sign of...
That is,
you know, the unfortunate sometimes telltale sign in an LRG that people can't even fake something to you at this point in time because they're so confused about what's the real plan. But I was like, oh, that's when I thought, oh, Maddie is in danger. But then there's, Maddie comes back to Mushy and is like, watch out, Mushy, you're in danger. And I'm like, what is this conversation? You've just shot for her this whole time. Like,
I know.
Where are we going? Yeah, I don't know. It made me feel the panic that the contestants likely felt walking into Tribal, because I was like, I don't know how this is going to play out, which is an exciting feeling, but it was, because I'm not in threat of going home, but it was like, oh my God, this is really live.
Yeah. And if you're a player and you're literally walking down to Tribal and you literally do not know, if you have zero understanding of what the plan might be, maybe you're just trying to get that last snippet of information.
But I feel like that's on you at that point. You got to have some plan before that walk down. Even if it's the wrong plan, you got to have something in your head.
That's true. That's true.
I just think it was Maddie's paranoia playing up, because I don't know how many people you're going to shift in that walk down. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think that's right. Like if you're walking down to Tribal, you generally have a name in your head, right? Like the odds of that shifting are limited.
Unless there's a live Tribal.
And great segue, Zach, because we get to Tribal Council and I started taking notes, and then I started, no, I'm not going to take notes on what people are saying. I'm going to take notes on who's going to who.
Right,
who's whispering to what.
Take me through it.
I think I stopped after a while. So I think we had Mars to Janine, and then Maddie to Janine, and then Nat to Derek, Derek to Will, and then Maddie to Anthea at the same time.
This is Maddie like your murder border people, like putting all the strings together.
Then Maddie went to Nat, then Maddie goes to Mars, and Maddie goes to Aston. Mars goes to Anthea, Will goes to Brie. And then I think I stopped taking notes because I went,
you're like, everyone goes everywhere.
Everyone's gone to everyone. But you do hear some snippets of audio.
I do, picking up on maybe my notes and what you have kind of said, Janine kind of speaks to not feeling so safe. And I think that allows a couple of people to go to Janine. And I think that is a really good sign for Janine at the start of this tribal council. Like you said, when people want her involved in the vote, it tells you that she's likely not going to go, at least on the first one, which would probably confirm to Janine, if people are really coming to me to try and get me in on this first one, I should still play my advantage in the second. So I don't know if she could have that read or if that even, if she was just in a full panic mode. But I do think I was like, okay, maybe Janine is at least making it to the second vote where she's going to get booted by the way that people were talking to her.
Yeah. And that's critical information, right? Like if she knows she's safe in the first, plays it in the second. I mean, sometimes the threat of an idol is as good as an idol in itself.
For sure.
It pans out in this game.
Yeah. And then I feel like the important content I feel like we hear from the tribal is like Brie and Mars kind of have this really nice collaboration with each other to say there's a lot of splits and there's a lot of names going around. And I feel like they're really starting to fuel the fire of like, we've heard a lot of names. If they're supposed to be on the bottom, maybe they shouldn't. Like, I think that they're kind of talking to like, it's open. And then Marb doubles down with loyalty is, you know, people who you want to move forward with, you've got to show them that you're going to put your money where your mouth is, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And really kind of, I think Mars really uses tribal councils in general to hammer home in code what he's going to do to the people that he's working with. If someone can crack the code, Mars is in trouble, but I really do feel like that's the way he uses tribal councils. And I think he needs to when he's on the bottom. He's saying, hey, I don't have much to lose. I'm going to show you where I'm going to vote. And what I said to the people that know that they're the people of mine, I'm going to do that, which was really the core six, the new core six in this instance.
And you know what? Like, I think doing that at tribal council, that takes a key amount of skill. And it's also useful to have it semi out there in the open for the jury to hear. Sure, we're a long way from endgame here, but if you start laying those seeds early on, it can help, formulate your pitch at the end if you are at the end. So, and Mars does do that really well.
I think the other key conversations I noted was Mushy trying to say to Aston, like, let's just get Maddie out and then we'll see what happens later. And then Mushy and Bree's interaction, which again feels like the herding cats from Bree's perspective. But she's like, let's do Maddie. And Bree's like, girl, like, why have you been protecting her this whole time and now you come to me last minute trying to throw her under the bus? Because I think some of that frustration may be Bree knowing that she's likely going here and she finally feels like someone is willing to play ball with her and she's the one that she's about to vote out, or at least the faction is about to vote out.
So shall we get to the vote? So we have our first vote. I think we end up having 7 people vote, and this is out of a tribe of 11. And unfortunately, Mushy gets 5 of the votes. And just to recap, it's from Anthea, Aston, Mars, Nat, and Maddie. And then Bree gets a vote from Janine, and Maddie gets a vote from Mushy.
Yes, that's right.
So that's a 5-1-1 vote, which means that you've only got 4 people left to vote in the second round.
Yeah, it's also an interesting... Like, I don't know how they came up with this. I don't know how the plans were solidified. Because we've got Aston, Mars, and Anthea, who, if they're working in that kind of solid
core
block...
6.
core 6, would be 3 votes on one... on one side, which kind of does make sense. And then you've got Nat piling onto that and Maddie piling onto the Mushy vote, where I don't know if she needed to play her vote this round. Obviously hindsight, but and then Janine making it quite clear that she's no longer with the red group because she votes for Bree out of, I assume, not knowing where or what to do. And then Mushy, throws her vote on Maddie, which is what she thought the plan was going to be.
And that's what she was pitching at that last second too. But there's an element of, I guess in hindsight it's 2020, but there's an element of wasted votes here, right? Like particularly in a double tribal council, and there's only 1 vote on Bree and 1 vote on Maddie, so it really only takes 2 to get rid of Mushy. But maybe it's it's too hard to predict when it's so unknown.
I think there's so much unknown. You want to at least double down, and I think we get the more votes on the first one because people are probably like, at least it ain't me going home first.
Yeah,
like I can just get this out. And I wonder if that's why someone like Mars, someone like Nat, someone like Mushy, and someone like Janine all play their votes because they're the names that are being thrown around. So they're going, I need my skin in the game for this particular vote, where it's really only Anthea and Aston maybe that don't really need to hold it. You see them probably the players in control a bit more hold their votes for the second round, which again is an indicator of who can feel a bit more safe. I feel like it's a lot of data you can pull from this type of stuff. But not in the moment in the LRG, you're just panicking all the time. But,
just as you said, Zach.
Yeah.
I said he would have kicked himself.
Yeah, if I was in Mars's position, no way I'm not playing it at the first shot with Council. It totally makes sense. I feel like he was the one that, for me, I was like, Mars is probably at the most threat. So I'm scared for him.
So we do see Mushy going home after that.
Yeah.
And then we have a surprise immunity challenge.
Yeah. How'd you feel about that?
Oh, look, I mean, I'm not here to boast, but I'm going to boast anyway. I have taught a core gym class. My record for a plank is 7 minutes.
Okay.
I wish I was there.
Cool.
But I'm also 5 foot tall. It's much easier to do a plank when you're super short. But we do have, I think, do they all have a crack at the plank? I feel like everyone has a go.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they all do.
Okay, yeah, I can't remember. I was trying to look, but the different camera angles didn't give us a full span.
Because I know Bree drops pretty early.
Yeah, I love that. Bree, how long were you up for? Tell me in the comments. I need to know this. It felt like it was like 2 seconds, and she's like, I can't do this. And I was like, that is so funny. Yes, can we talk about, before we talk about the actual planking, I feel like Dan and Liv must have walked around and been like, this looks like the worst place to plank for an extended period of time. Let's see how many rocks and sticks we can get right in this particular spot to make it harder for these particular people. Can't have an endurance challenge lasting too long, so you may as well throw some sticks and rocks on the floor to speed it up. I just thought it was funny. I was like, damn, that's got to hurt from these people. The planking is going to hurt, but also having so much weight on that floor.
Definitely. But yeah, we do see, I think all of them. I'm pretty sure all of them have a go. Bree drops pretty early. And I actually want to give kudos to Maddie here.
Yeah.
I feel like she actually
stand out.
She knows that she's in trouble and she is holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
You can hear
and she wants it.
She wants it.
And I'm like, oh, the others are so stable that I just don't see you getting there. But you feel for her because you're like, oh, you can see how much she wants it. And that's really all you can ask for in a game like this, right? Is when you're playing for you're playing for the glory, not playing for the money, right? No one's rocked up to this being like, this is how I get my money this weekend. You're playing for the title, and Maddie wants it.
Yeah. And she gives it a red hot go. And she does, she doesn't quite make it, but as we mentioned at the start of the episode, I think it actually comes down to, surprise, surprise, our kingmakers of the two alliances.
Yeah. And this time the God of War takes it out.
He does. And I was actually thinking, I think Will should have this. He's the shorter guy.
Okay.
He might have,
I thought with his running, he probably had a strong core.
But you do start to see him shaking, and Mars looks actually pretty solid.
Maybe it was the same thing as Maddie. Like, did Will need this? No.
Probably not.
I don't think he needed it. But Mars, he needed it. Probably. I don't know if there was a consideration of how to if people were going to get rid of him, but I think with Bree and Aston having a vote, he was still probably pretty safe in the second round.
Yeah.
But I do think it would have been a massive adrenaline rush for him to win.
Oh, if the leap from the ground up into the air was anything to go by, that spring in his step was an indication that he was pretty excited.
Yeah, got to get rid of him before they have a jumping challenge. No, I mean, like, and even to see him kind of like tone it back a little bit in, you know, like dab up Will, I guess, and like celebrate with people and recognize it. It still, I think, talks to like the good nature that Mars has in those wins.
Yeah. Well,
there
Mars must, just like a really good
planking every day.
Keen contestant going, all right, what have they done before? I'm going to practice everything that's come up previously. Well done, Mars.
Yeah.
If you were practicing planks before the season. So we have round 2.
Yeah.
So I think we've only got 4 people that can vote, noting that Aston's got the double vote legacy advantage.
Yes.
We know that Janine's got the envelope to play for the Federation Station as well.
Yeah. Mm.
And it's actually a really tight vote.
Really tight.
We see, and we've talked about this, Anthony gets 1 vote from Aston, which we've got a question mark on why that's the case.
Next time. Yeah.
We'll see in the next episode the reason behind that. Nat gets a vote from Bree, which we kind of know about. We know that she wants to flush the idol. She says that when she makes that vote.
Yeah.
And then Maddie gets 2 votes from Will and Derek.
Yeah. Which I thought, as he speaks, you hear Maddie's, speech about her going out. She's like, classic Bree and Aston voting for me and I'm like, wow,
Wrong.
That's the only annoying part probably for Bree and Maddie's story is like she's going to walk out of there and Bree's going to be like, freaking heck, I didn't even get to vote out the girl that I was trying to go for this whole time. But I do think it's an interesting split. I wonder why Bree went for Nat. I know it was talked about, but I was like, she was running the votes like the Navy. So how it feels like she was left out a little bit of where the real votes were kind of going. Do you know what I mean? Like I was like,
I do, and I feel like
more people would have had to be in on that. Like Aston, like I thought her main ally would likely double down and go for Nat with her if the other 2 had already said that they were going for Maddie. I don't know. It's hard to say. Such a chaotic.
It is hard to say. Unless it's again the Janine playing of the envelope sort of in the second vote kind of was enough to throw a spanner in the works, but the plan didn't go to fruition. So
okay.
Breeze also said that Aston didn't tell her about the extra vote, so she didn't know.
Crazy work, Aston. That's so interesting.
What sort of alliance is this?
Yeah, if it's a split between Nat and Janine. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's true too.
A 1-1-1 split. That's a bold move. Yeah, and like I guess that makes sense to why it was split that way. With Anthea maybe being taken out if that was the play. I just wonder why target someone that is in the 6 that you're trying to form. That would have been because I think it's going to come. I wonder if it's going to come back to bite them because I don't know who can play off that. Who the Anthea vote comes from, if not someone in the core 6.
It'll be interesting to see how Anthea, Will, and Derek kind of react to that. Like, I mean, surely that puts the core 6 in danger.
I did wonder if that was going to happen, Derek, in terms of someone telling Nat that there was a plan to flush it and not to play it. I think Nat is a really strong-willed person, so I can imagine if she did really trust you, she wasn't going to play it, which I think is also good for solidifying who trusts who. So we see Maddie go, right?
We do.
And she goes the wrong way before the little editing trick, and she walks off the other way. I thought that was quite good.
It's the paranoia. You just get confused which way to go, I'm sure. It was Derek said he swapped her vote to a vote in the first. I was guaranteed a vote in the second as well. Plus, we want to get Maddie out in honor of Mushy. There we go. Alrighty. So that brings us to the end of this episode. I feel like there's a little bit to find out for the next one. I think there's some unanswered questions from this. So shall we watch the trailer?
Sure, let's do it.
Let's see what we've got coming. Let's make sure I'm playing the right one.
Next time on Survivor Canberra, Mount Majura. Anthea and Derek look to make a move that would spell the end of the newly formed cross-tribe alliance of 6.
I think I would send home Mars. He's charming, he's likeable, he's a physical threat, he's socially doing well, so I want to get him out.
And Mars looks to make a move of his own that would see him rise to the top of the pecking order.
Mars, like the Roman god of war, like you gotta like spread some of that chaos, because chaos, you mix everything around, and hopefully after that chaos you bring back some order, and through that order I can rise to the top, so king stays king.
Meanwhile, a physical immunity challenge tests the player's speed, endurance and decision making.
Exciting times.
I'm just getting a sense the core 6 is not core.
Who knows?
Something tells me something's going to go there. Any thoughts before we wrap up, Zach, for the next episode?
I mean, I'm excited to see where it goes. I have so many thoughts, even on that little clip. I'm like, please, Janine's knees look like they're going to go. I'm like, please don't get medically evacuated.
No.
And just like, clearly Mars is a great confessionalist, and he loves to, has to say the God of War a couple times an episode.
He loves the God of War.
He's going to dissipate. It's like
he loves the God of War. He wants
to. You got to run with it, right? But no, I'm really excited to see where it goes. I feel like if I was to say somebody is in the hot seat for next week, and I'm going to ask you the same question, I wonder if Aston could be in trouble for maybe some protecting himself gameplay with Mars still around. I do wonder whether if the Will and Mars thing is still going to be like, oh my God, Mars made it through, we've got to get rid of him, is too strong type of narrative might come up. And I think if people were genuinely considering Janine as just she's a bit of a floater. Like I said, I don't know where she is. I know they said she's in the girls group, but I wonder if it's that strong. Yeah, I don't know. Be interesting to see.
How many are we down to now? Is it 8, 9?
No, didn't Aston have it for the final 9 vote? I don't know how many.
It was the final 10. So yeah.
So okay.
10
and 9 then. So are we down to 8?
Down to 8. Which is, an interesting number. 7's the danger number, but you're right in terms of potentially using Janine as that extra number. Thanks everyone.
Guys. So who do you think is in trouble?
I think anyone ex-red now.
You said anyone. I think anyone.
Anyone. They're all in trouble. No, I reckon the 3, particularly the 3 red of the core 6. So I reckon Bree, Aston, Mars. I think the fact that the core 6, I suspect, hasn't held strong, it's going to bite them back in the next episode in terms of whatever that looks like. I reckon Will, Anthea, and Derek will regroup and go, actually, this isn't going to work for us. Let's retake control of the game and control the next vote.
Unless the red faction can really convince that the Anthea vote was like Nats or was a Mushy vote and try and throw, Mushy wasn't there, so that's not going to work. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like throw it on somebody else, like, oh, it must have been Janine who did that because I would never do that type of thing. They could maybe scrape by to kind of keep the 6 solidifying them. But given Aston and Mars aren't in the girls group, or like, I wonder if they're probably a little bit more exposed than Bree is. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, exciting times though.
Absolutely. So tune in. Next episode comes out. Episode 9 comes out on Friday at 8 p.m. The Backbenchers will be back next week. I'm not sure who's on. Zach will probably make another guest appearance.
If we love having you on. Yeah, I'll be the mushy of the Backbenchers. I'm going to be here scraping to get on every week.
But in all honesty, that was great, Zach. Thanks for joining me. Everyone, I hope you enjoyed. Tune in on Friday, 8 p.m. for the next episode. Otherwise, Backbenchers will be back next Monday. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.
Next time on Survivor Canberra Mount Majura. After Jordan's blindside, tribal lines are finally blurring, and a cross-tribe super alliance is forming.
I think things are coming together. I'm not sure though. Like, hopefully, I can see like the path forward in my mind. I can see that 6. So, yeah, we need to go for it. We need to take our chance now.
Meanwhile, Maddie and Aston are plotting behind Mars's back.
Mars is the next one to go. He needs to go. I want to make that work, but I don't also want to look like I'm calling the shots.
Liv and Dan announce a spicy double elimination, and the players fight for immunity from the double vote.